hope that I can find the words for this, because this is such an important message that has to come through, and it has in a few ways on my channel before, but it's just, I've been given more evidence, and so every time I'm given evidence of something, I come on here and we talk about it. And so this concept of pattern disruption, and Arlo, not all, and Arlo, come here, come here, babe. Zima, hold on, I lost Zima, one sec. Okay, the chaos has settled. The chaos being you. Why am I always gifted with chaotic little beings? If you don't know, my baby horse on the way, his or her name is Chaos. There is some stuff on the lens here. This video, I feel like it's going to be a powerful one, so just bear with me. This is why this is all happening. Okay. Deep breath. Center. Let's find our center. This message of pattern disruption, it's like, I feel like I'm at like a grand finale right now of what has been such a fascinating manifestation of an experience here in Italy on this farm. And I've shared a little bit about it just to keep some privacy of others, but it's also my story and my experiences to share. And so, as many of you know, there are these people on the farm who used to be my really good friends who, out of nowhere, just like stonewalled me, and then like just turned on me and tried to isolate me out of everything on the farm. And when I confronted them, it like turned into screaming, but like was a lot of attacks on my character, but like no evidence, and all I was asking for was like examples, and there were none. And so there seemed to be no explained reason. Of course, I am very aware of like what those reasons probably are and whatnot, and my therapist obviously helps me understand that too, and my friends, and it's just pretty obvious when you become aware. But pattern disruption, baby. So in the past, I've talked about how when I was in a unhealthy relationship, and like we were just walking on thin ice, but we were hanging on for dear life for whatever reason, just like reasons that were not rooted in our highest good. And when I went on a retreat, I traveled across the country. Arlo, don't eat it. Arlo. And went to a retreat in Florida, and I was living in California with him. And when I came back, or even when I was still in Florida, the relationship had come to an end. Our living situation had come to an end. Our places that we were approved for, that we were going to like try to move into and get therapy and fix things, fell through, and it all fell apart, and new began. So disrupting that pattern of what we were in and what we had been doing by leaving and removing myself allowed everything to settle. Like there was no more of that like stuff going on, and it had to calibrate without me there. And then when I came back, it was a different life. That next day when I came back, I think like the day after I came back is when I saw this crazy child of mine on a Facebook post, and he was a little baby puppy. He was 6 weeks old, and I saw his face, and I was like, that's my puppy. I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna live. I might be quitting my job. I'm going through a breakup, feels like a divorce, and I'm gonna get a puppy. But it was just all very soul aligned. It was meant to be. And so I went for it, and it was the best decision that I ever made. But this all came about because I disrupted the pattern of what I was in by leaving. And so travel can be so life-changing for that. You don't have to travel though, like you can just find other ways to remove yourself from a situation. But another example is when I was in, like after the relationship, I was still in that job, and I knew that I wanted to leave, but I didn't have the next branch to swing to. And I went to Kentucky to see my dad, and then the job fell apart. The conditions became to like a point where I couldn't agree to them anymore, requiring I come into the office every single day and go to LA once a week, which was like 3 hours each way, and I wasn't getting more money for gas and all this stuff. It was an hour to the office from my place. I wasn't going to leave Arlo alone for all that time. And I didn't want to be in the job. So I was like, why am I going to sell my entire life to this job that I don't like? And so I just quit. And like we have like these categories of life that are like usually like the biggest causes for divorce, but also that are just like main categories of life, which is like our living situation, our job, like deaths in the family, like these big categories. And so these big categories were always influenced if they were out of alignment with my highest truth, with like what I truly desire, they would always be influenced when I would remove myself from the situation. This week, I removed myself from the situation. I took my van on a drive. Magically works. All we did was change the fluid. If you guys remember when I was in Austria, they were like, new gearbox, this other thing that's super special, no one knows how to do, 5,000 euro, blah, blah, blah. Like just all these things that just didn't feel right. So I just towed it back here to Italy. And if you remember, I've been waiting to say this. If you remember, I was sitting like right here. Yeah. Oh, so wild. I love this shit. And I had gotten the download. I was like, in 6 months, it'll all make sense. This is wild right now, you guys. And it's 6 months now since that happened, since I was in that situation where I divinely was guided back to the farm. And it was so clearly divine intervention. And now that it's 6 months and my van drives again, like it's wild. No one could fix it, but all it took was that little solution. And then I removed myself from the situation here, and that situation is falling apart. It's crumbling. It is not going to last anymore. That what was happening is coming to an end. Everyone sees it clearly now. And it's like I was here, like allowing them to hide behind what they were doing because they were like using me as this problem. And now it's all been brought to the surface, and I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to fight for myself. I didn't have to stress myself out. I didn't have to go the hard route. I just experienced what I experienced last week, where one of them was like screaming her eyeballs out of her face. And I just said, okay, this is progress. Like, this is setting things into motion. And intuitively, I felt the need to go leave. Not just because of that. And then this all happened now, where talks are being had and changes are being made and things are coming to an end. And in a few weeks, or maybe in a few hours, things will be very different. And hopefully, it'll be an adjustment period for everybody. But old ways of being, old systems can't last anymore. And so if there are things in your life that are just not feeling right anymore, like you are in a relationship, or you're in a job, or you're in a friendship, you're in a living situation, you're in whatever, and it's just not serving you anymore. It feels like stress or grief or shame or anger or sadness or abandonment or, control or manipulation or whatever it is, and you don't see the way out. You can try removing yourself for just a little while and see what happens. If it's not meant for you, and if you choose yourself and you go do something that means you're choosing yourself, and then you come back, you will be bigger. Like, I felt bigger when I went to Florida. I felt bigger after I went to Kentucky. I felt bigger after I got back from Como and drove in my van again and went with Arlo and Zima and Duchess, and I felt like huge. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is me. And like, this chapter's coming to an end. Just that chapter alone of like not having the van driving, of like feeling divinely needing to be here and learn this specific lesson of this dynamic and what it means to stand in your truth in darkness, like to stand in your light when other people don't like your light, when other people want to stomp your light out as much as possible. And the more that you choose your truth, the more that you stand in it, the more that you speak from it, the more that you act from it, and you don't try to meet like the darkness down there, the more that things will start to fall into place for you. When I was talking with my therapist about this like months ago when it was going on, she was like, don't even have that conversation. Don't even try to explain yourself. Like, don't even try to explain why you're hurt, because that's not what this is. Like, that there's no meeting in the middle of this. You need to just thrive. You need to just be happy. You need to just do the things that you love, and, you know, continue to grow things on the farm, continue to grow things in your own life, in your own business, in your own health, in your own happiness, in your own friendships. And that will continue to frustrate them, but eventually it will crash and burn. And so it's like the topic, I hope I'm pinpointing this. When you disrupt that pattern and you step out of it, that is when you let in all this new to come in. And like, this has been going on for a while. It's been like 7 months now. Well, actually, no, less, because 6 months. So it's been like 5 months of this. And the job was 5 years, and the relationship was almost 4 years. Like, these were long patterns. And, you know, it was because I just stayed in those patterns of them, you know, especially for the job and the relationship. Like, I just stayed, and I wasn't so intentional about like standing in my truth. And so that meant I had things to learn. I still was learning from that. But then when I chose myself and stepped into my truth and removed myself, then it was like boom, 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 here's a puppy. So I'm interested to see what happens now that the van's driving, now that these systems are crashing and burning, and now that I'm building this roof cover, like more of a place for me to park, but also like giving me the option to go and to come without my space being influenced like it was last time when I went to the States and I came back and it was all destroyed by these people. So it'll be very, very interesting to see the changes that come about. So thank you for being here on this journey with me. And I think I need to note that just because you're on a spiritual path doesn't mean that everything is just going to be like rainbows and butterflies. And just because you've done the work doesn't mean that you don't have more to learn. I think that the biggest trap that people fall into is like thinking that, oh, I'm spiritually aligned and awake now, and I'm better than everyone else. But if you allow yourself to learn and to experience and to face your shadows in perceived manifestations of them, then you are committed to going deeper and experiencing more. And it's about experiencing the contrast to experience the truth that you are. My favorite example that you guys have heard me say a lot of times is when like there's a movie being played on the projector screen, and if there were no shadows, if there were no contrast, then you would just be watching that white, bright light on the screen. You need the shadows, you need the contrast. That's part of the human experience. That's why you came here. You came here to learn and grow. And there's a time for digging and experiencing, and then there's a time for sailing and just enjoying all the work that you've done. I feel a sail is on the horizon. And I know that a sail is on the horizon because I've opened up to the divine guidance, and it said 6 months from now. And even just in Lake Como, driving there, I was like, this is the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. And so if you want to open up to divine guidance, to have these special moments where everything starts to click and like you get validation in your perceived reality from the messages that you receive, I have a program called 21 Days to Know Your Divine Guidance, and that teaches you how to have that language and communication with your divine team, with your angels, your guides, your intuition, your higher self, so that in moments of like despair and chaos, like my child, you can say like, why did my van break down in another country? Why can no one fix it? Why is it like, why did I get brought back here? And they'll say, give it 6 months and it will all make sense. And it's cool. Like, it's really cool to have that communication, that line of communication open. And maybe you'll hear it, maybe you'll feel it, maybe you'll know it, maybe you'll taste it, maybe you'll smell it. There's so many different ways. Maybe you'll just see it in messages. I have people, clients who just like receive messages after they ask for guidance, like it comes through conversation or in a sign or whatever. And so there's different ways that we have language with our divine team. And so this program teaches you that. I have 21 days to rewire your mind, which is all about rewiring your mind, healing your nervous system, and stepping into your chosen timeline. And that one is all about rewiring your mind. It's about firing together new neurons, which this material is what saved my life. I used to be chronically ill with Lyme disease, with chronic inflammatory response syndrome, with mast cell activation syndrome. I couldn't leave my house. I couldn't be around people who were around houses or other people. My mold sensitivity was that severe, where I would slur my speech. I would, not be able to see straight. And brain retraining is what changed my life. And so this program will help you heal your nervous system, retrain your mind, but also allow you to set yourself up for success. Through doing my brain retraining program for health, I also was guided towards understanding that this is like a manifestation. It's like so many things in one program, because you get to manifest, you get to get clear on your chosen timeline, you get to use your free will to choose it or whatever's for your highest good. You get to heal your nervous system by visualizing your chosen timeline every single day. It's incredible. I hear these people coming back. But my program Decondition is my program starting on January 1st, which is my most intensive program, which will help you decondition the patterns of your mind that are keeping you stuck in an old timeline. We'll go into past life regressions, Akashic records, sound therapy. I'll do sound bowls, sound baths with my sound bowls, and guided meditations, and just so many different things, EFT tapping, and we'll really go deep into different ways to decondition the mind and just set yourself free and open you up to the possibilities of life. If you want to sign up for any of those, go ahead. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. Leave a comment if you feel called to do so. If you don't know what to say, you can say hello, Arlo. We love your chaotic self. I love you guys. Should be interesting to see what happens next. Go disrupt some patterns. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. This is the story of Liam and why we're starting this fundraiser to bring him home. We want to bring Liam to our animal sanctuary and rescue here in Italy because he's a special pony, and he has had a history of a lot of trauma and a lot of abuse, and not many people understand him or will ever have the time to understand him, but there's something about him that's actually really special. Liam was sold to the farm owner and founder that we have here on our farm in Italy as something that he wasn't. He was sold as a horse that had no negative history of trauma or abuse, and he's actually covered in scars all over his body from a barbed whip that was used on him. He is terrified of humans. You can see it in his eyes when people come to touch him, but he's learning to tolerate through many, many years of slow introduction to different things and different ways of affection. And so if people have the patience with him, he can be a really wonderful addition to the farm, but he's not like your normal horse. And so recently we've been faced with the situation of him needing to come back to Italy, or come to Italy for the first time, because he can't be boarded at the place that he's in the UK anymore, and no one else will take him. And the options were really to either euthanize him or to bring him here. This was the first time that he had a saddle on with a rider sitting on him. He actually cannot be ridden, but this was a huge moment because he actually trusted it for the short time that she sat on him. So a big win for learning to trust, but we're never going to put him through that. We just want him to come here so that he can live out his life in peace and not have to worry about getting moved around a bunch or whatever would have happened if we tried to find another route. So we want to keep him alive. We want to give him a long, healthy life. We want to give him the love that he needs. And that's why we're raising the money to bring him here. And unfortunately, horse transportation is quite expensive. And so we have been trying to raise the $4,000 needed to bring him here. He's actually en route because we had a friend front the money, but it was just a front and we really want to pay him back. So all of your donations are so appreciated, and thank you so much for your support. And we can't wait to show you Liam's journey of living here in Italy with us. And I want to tell you more about our other horses that we're rescuing, which are 8 horses from Bulgaria. And so I'll tell you their story right now. These 8 horses come from the Foundation Life, which stands for Lucy Irvine Foundation Europe. They are all rescue horses, and Lucy has recently been facing health challenges with cancer, and so our sanctuary here in Italy has offered to take these horses off of her hands and to give them a forever home. This is Star. She was rescued from going to gypsies and working at age under 1 year old, so now she gets to grow up properly. 4 of the other horses that we're rescuing had a past of being raised for Christmas meat, where they were locked away in a stall with no light, and when they were found, they had severe muscle damage. One of them actually is unable to be ridden for the rest of his life, but he makes a great companion to his sister friend. 2 others were sick with tick-borne illnesses to the point where their organs were shutting down, and Lucy was able to nurse them back to health with a lot of dedication and care. One is a stallion who was beat so hard every time he would act just a little bit like a stallion, and now he has a pretty serious fear of men because of that history. Our animal rescue and sanctuary is completely committed to supporting these animals based off of their histories and their triggers and their traumas and their health conditions. And it's our purpose and mission to give them their longest, healthiest life possible here at their forever home. So thank you so much for your support, for your donations to help bring Liam and these 8 horses from Bulgaria here to Italy. The cost of this transportation will be 7,500 euros, and so it is quite expensive for us, especially because we are paying off debts like our hay bill and our electrician and our vet, and so all the extra money from the donation will go to those funds as well. So we thank you from the bottom of our heart for your support to helping us save these animals, give them a home, and to funding the care and the needs of them as well. So we really appreciate you. The link is below to the fundraiser where you can donate.